Hello students, today we are going to discuss about factors affecting bacterial growth. So what are the factors that can affect the growth of microorganisms? So one by one we are going to discuss each and every factor which can influence or inhibit or promote the growth of microorganisms. So first one is nutrient availability. So as we have already discussed in the previous video, that there are different nutrients which are essential for the growth of microorganisms, including carbon source, nitrogen source, vitamin, minerals and other growth factors that can help in the promotion of the growth of microorganisms. So if there is a limitation or the reduction or any inhibition in the nutrient availability, so the growth of bacteria or the microorganisms will be limited. So second factor for the growth of microorganism is temperature, where bacteria can grow on optimal temperature, and generally we are growing bacteria on 37 degrees Celsius in our lab. So if we decrease or increase the temperature, if we lower the temperature, so the metabolic process of the microorganisms will be delayed and the growth will be inhibited. Similarly, if we increase the temperature of the bacteria, of the bacterial incubation, so some species can survive but the bacterial growth will be inhibited. Next factor is pH. So the third important factor for the growth of microorganism is to maintain the pH. We should maintain the acidity or alkalinity of the environment of the nutrient media for the growth of microorganisms. So if we decrease or increase, if we decrease the pH toward acidic conditions, it may inhibit the growth. Similarly, if we increase towards alkalinity, it may also affect the growth of microorganisms. The next important factor for the growth of microorganism is oxygen. So there are different type of bacteria which may require the availability of oxygen, and other bacteria may not require the availability of oxygen. So the bacteria which require the availability of oxygen, they are known as aerobes. So for the aerobes microorganisms, we should provide an optimal level of oxygen for the growth of microorganisms. So for example, if there is a tolerance of oxygen, in the case of anaerobes, it may survive without the presence of oxygen. Next important factor is moisture. So as we know, adequate moisture is essential for the growth of microorganisms. So bacteria typically require a certain level of water availability in the environment to carry out the metabolic process. So if there is a lack of moisture in the environment for the growth of microorganisms, it may provide unfavorable conditions for the growth of microorganisms. So growth of bacteria will be decreased. Next important is environmental factors. So there are several environmental factors such as light, pressure, radiation, which can impact the growth of microorganisms. Some bacteria may require the light conditions, some may not require the light condition for the growth. Pressure and radiation can also affect the growth of bacteria depending on the species and conditions of the different types of bacteria. Next important factor is inhibitory substances such as antimicrobial agent and other toxic compounds that can hinder the growth of microorganisms. So if there is a specific antibiotic or some toxic chemical is present inside the media, they can affect the growth of microorganisms. Next important factor in the growth of bacteria is competition. So the bacterial growth can be inhibited with the other organisms present in the culture because they will fight for the availability of their resource and space present in the culture. So if there is a crowdy environment or there is a higher turbidity, so there will be the depletion of nutrients and there will be the limitation of the nutrients. It can affect the growth of microorganisms or it can limit their growth. Next is micronutrients. This is also very important factor, where micronutrients including iron, copper, zinc, molybdenum, these all are very essential for the growth of microorganisms. So as we have already discussed, these are the cofactors for the enzymatic reactions. So if there is a lack of this micronutrients in the media, so they can inhibit or they can inhibit the growth of bacteria by decreasing their metabolism. Next is toxic compounds. So the toxic compounds, if they are present in the media or the environment of the bacteria, they can kill the bacteria. So some toxic compounds like ethanol and other disinfectants like some detergents or other toxic chemicals present in the media, they can hinder the growth or they can spoil the growth of bacteria.